Yeah, but it was really a moment where I said, okay, I need to change something. I said, I don't know what, I don't know who I am. Then also I learned that the big confusion we have as humans is that success is defined by a fantasy. Success is defined by fame and fortune. Yeah, your reputation and how many people look up to you, and how many money what money you earn. Yeah, and so that's on one side. And as long as this is feeding your ego, you feel great. The moment this stops, you're totally lost. And it's typically a midlife crisis.
In this episode of the Life in Transition podcast, I'm speaking with Florian Kemmerich, who is the founder of On Vocation. He's an impact investor, he's a serial entrepreneur, successful professional, successful father, multicultural. But the thing that's really his gift is helping to get clear about what is our vocation and bringing that back into our profession. This was an amazing conversation. We had such a strong connection. It was so authentic and so useful. So anybody that's looking through how to make their work more meaningful or make their life more meaningful, we're bringing those two together and showing that it's false dichotomy that you can either be successful financially or be successful in making a contribution. That you can do both. Amazing conversation. You're going to love this episode. If you are already chock full of meaning in your life and making the money that you want to, then pass it on to somebody that you know that's in that point of transition. A man that's looking for money, and share it with them. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm very excited today to have with us Florian Kemmerich. Florian is an entrepreneur, an impact investor, and he's learned big lessons from his roller coaster life, and now is starting to live in alignment with knowing himself, like learning himself, and then starting to live in alignment with that. And Florian, I love that you have taken this. You've done the success, you've done the business part, but then you've gone past that to learn, get to know yourself, and then start to live in alignment with that. And that's what this is all about. Men finding meaning through life in transition. So thank you so much for taking your time to join us on the Life in Transition podcast today.
It's a great pleasure, Art, to be with you and to explain a little bit about my own path and what led me to
wonderful.
what I do
Well,
today.
Let's jump in with that. What has this roller coaster life of yours been? What are the key transitions that you've experienced that have led to this new meaning in your life?
Probably the first path was more a linear path, as my parents would have expected from me.
Right there with you.
yeah. And so actually very early on when I was 18, I wanted to become a stand-up comedian. I had an art school, dramatic art school already chosen. And then my father said, look, son, there are great artists out there, but they hardly make a living. Maybe you want to study something normal first, and then you can try. And I said, okay. Right. So I studied the normal, but I never tried. I stayed on the normal. So I studied business administration and marketing. And I get a good Gen Xer. What do you do? An entry-level job in a corporation. And then for 15 years, step by step, going up. And so that in the age of 33, I had the success my parents wanted me to have. So I was running a company, family.
Perfect. And ticked all the boxes.
Yeah, exactly. And it was linear. It was good. There was some learnings in there. But again, at the end, I was good. Yeah, Cam was a nice household. Had a good studies. Great entry level of a corporation, did my way up there. And then I did a coaching. So my boss at the corporation said, Florian, you want to fine tune something, for you? And why do you want to do a coaching? I said, yeah. So I went into a coaching, not knowing what I'm going into, which essentially was a psychotherapy. You have a therapist standing in front of you. And again, in the US it's different, you have your therapist.
Yes.
In Europe, you have stigma.
It's still got the old thinking about therapy. That therapy is bad. So you have your Gestalt therapist as your coach, right?
Yes, correct. And so basically, I then in the process, actually, the coach, she said I was a hard nut to crack because I had a very elegant adult shield. I call it the smart ass shield. And I was suddenly confronted to my inner child. I was actually put on two chairs. I had to change the chairs. Yeah. So the young Florian and the adult Florian talking to each other, which was kind of
very
weird.
effective. Yeah. That's very effective, though.
And then I said,
I've done a lot of that work, and it's very effective.
And then suddenly, you see, for me, I was walking in there not knowing anything, and I was very good to get my own emotion, my inner side down. Don't go, just do good things and perform. And so that when my world changed, the awareness of that inner child, listening to the inner child, and then I actually asked myself, what I'm doing here. Am I living my life?
And did that start, Florian, from the point of the inner child work? So you were going along on this program. Did you have I'm going to call it a quiet discontent already before you started with the coaching / therapy, or did it come out from the coaching / therapy?
It's a great question. I was not aware of me always being on high speed in order not to feel.
That's a very
So I
succinct
wouldn't go
way
to
of putting that I completely resonate with, right? To go so fast that we don't have to feel. We can stay in sort of this adrenalizing, like skiing down the piste really quick, right? Yeah.
And that suddenly changed. It wasn't all of a sudden, but it started to. Yeah. And then I asked myself, who am I? Why I'm doing what I'm doing? Actually, when I was young, I wanted to do something very different. And now I ended up doing this. Yeah. And I think I'm pretty good in what I'm doing, but it's not me. And so I suddenly recognized some months later that I was the absent subject of my own education.
Yeah.
My education gave me the tools to make a living, not to tell me.
So the absent,
who am I? How do I function
the absent
emotionally?
subject being like on automaton. You're running on autopilot doing this life, but you're not really present with it.
Yes.
Yeah. And the way to not feel the discontent of not being present with it is to go fast.
Correct. And you don't want to open into, some things which may be difficult, or things where you might have some fear. You always speed.
And by the way, in the West, especially in the East, it's becoming this way too. I lived in China for a few years. It's incredibly celebrated. Running fast, walking tall, walking fast. You have a purpose. You're making stuff happen. You're busy. You're on the phone and 2 phones at the same time. And that's celebrated, even though it's incredibly unhealthy, but it's celebrated.
Correct. So once I recognized I had been the absent subject of my own education, that my education didn't tell me how I function emotionally, mentally, neither instinctively. And so then I said, okay. And then I went into personal development methodologies, all sorts, just because as my education didn't tell me, I wanted to find out. So I left my corporate job, golden handcuffs away, pivoted over into soul searching. As I was doing more entrepreneurial, that's why I call it roller coaster life. That's when it started. Because I wasn't really it was clear for me where I wasn't where I wanted to be, but not. It kind of cascaded down, and it wasn't all clear that here's it and I'll do that. I just make decisions after decision, in a sense, trying to find myself. That was
33. And you had the success, and you started the coaching at 33.
Yes. I did it. The coaching was at 31. At 33 was the saying, hold a second.
Right.
Yeah. So I hang on in there, and the first LinkedIn article I wrote, which was over 10 years old, which was in hindsight from then, I described that moment, and the title is actually called "Why Is Education Not Vocational?" And I described my feeling being in that corporation. Yeah. By the way, great company, great colleagues, healthcare. There's nothing I can say bad about, but me, what I'm doing here. And so at a certain moment, when I then started to work on me. So basically, 31, I had the coaching. 32, I started to do some personal development courses.
Yeah, sure.
Even still in the corporate life. I actually put my people, my senior team also in to do the development courses. So we were all in that sense. Yeah, but it was really a moment where I said, okay, I need to change something. I don't know what, I don't know who I am. But also I learned that the big confusion we have as humans is that success is defined by a fantasy. Success is defined by fame and fortune. Yeah. Your reputation and how many people look up to you. Yeah. And how much money you earn. Yeah. And so that's on one side. And as long as this is feeding your ego, you feel great. The moment this stops, you're totally lost. And it's typically a midlife crisis. Yeah. It's also typically, you can see that with high-end sports, when they stop doing sports and they cannot stop because suddenly fame and fortune is not the same. Yeah. And so it's not the same adrenaline you get from this. And they fall into depressions, very often drugs, also artists. So there's a big difference, I want to be a rock star, and even if you're a rock star, look what they do at the end, because it is not a self-fulfillment. It is only catering to others.
I would add you have fame and fortune, which is two of them. There's another one it's just related, but it's power. Right? You can have situations where you have power, which you have some, not necessarily a lot of fortune, not necessarily a lot of fame, but if you have power over others, that's another false success, or something that can keep us going. That's not true to ourselves. Right?
You're right. May I cite you on that?
Yeah.
I think this is a good point. Yeah, absolutely. But so you have this side, which defines success. You have the other side, where it's actually your intuition, not your imagination. It's your intuition. And the intuition is defined by the inner child, age 5 to 10. And you can build on that, and you can, And the imagination or fantasy is defined by the adult.
Right.
By
It's
society.
very external, if you will. Yeah.
So,
And even when we have
yes,
it, we feel
education,
like it's what others expect of us, right? Even if we're the ones doing it, it's like, well, why am I doing this? Well, because that's how I become somebody, because of the expectations of society.
Correct. And so this is the confusion. And it's difficult to define sometimes. If you do an exercise of what is your dream, what's the vocation you would like to look into, people very quickly go on the fame and fortune side, catering to the ego. We all have our ego, and we do manage our ego because the ego protects us. We are vulnerable, and then ego protects me. Yeah, but again, if it's only about my ego, or if I need to be fed, my ego needs to be fed, then you're down an alley, which is a bad one on the long run. And you see people at their deathbed, typically, what do they regret? Not having lived and loved enough. Too busy on the hamster wheel.
Yeah, I love that. That's a very good sum up. So not having lived and loved enough. Yeah. Have you read Bronnie Ware's book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying?
Oh, yes.
But you could almost sum up all of that in not having lived and loved enough, right? So I love that summary. That's great.
Which is it? Yes. And again, we come here naked and we leave naked. Yeah. And in between, what is it? What really is, we can say, have I lived a meaningful life? It's loved and lived. So living means also I cater to others. One of the longevity studies from Harvard say that social interaction is the most important part. So if you cater to society, if you serve society, you don't help. Helping is
better.
I put myself on top.
Yeah.
And I'm looking down. Yeah. And the one being helped is unfair. Don't help me. Don't pity me. Let me help myself. Yeah. But if you serve, you don't put yourself higher. You're at least peers, sometimes even lower, because you are at a, and you might, and that's where people like to invite. So once you recognize your inner child, you listen to it educated with the presence of your adult, and then you say, what comes up of things I would actually contribute to people or the planet, and then you pick this and you build it on the adult into your profession. That is when you are in your zone, when your job is no longer a job, because what you do is greater than you. And I'm not talking about, I'm not saying you need to become Mahatma Gandhi. No, I'm just saying wherever you live, you contribute. You give, and not helping, but you really put yourself at risk. And I invite people to do that professionally, because typically we say first you make money and then you do good. It's a fundamental flaw. Again, you're back on the fame and fortune side. 100%. You're not listening to this part,
think two things that springs up for me that I want to share. Have you read Richard Rohr at all? Are you familiar with Father Rohr, Richard Rohr? He's a friend.
Nope.
Franciscan. I want to make sure I had the right one, because I talked to several of these guys recently. Franciscan monk, 85 years old, written 40-something books. But to me, he's maybe the preeminent spiritual leader, at least coming from the Christian tradition today on the planet. And I was lucky enough to be in a workshop with him with only 60 men in New Mexico last October, with two other guys. One was the founder of not the founder. Father Greg Boyle's the founder. He was the CEO of Homeboys Industries, which is the only super successful gang rehabilitation center in the world in Los Angeles. But the message that came out of that with Richard Rohr and then Tom Vozo, who was the CEO of this organization that does tremendous work, was, if you want to make a difference, right? If you want to sort of make God happy, if you will, make yourself happy, is go to the margins of society. And I love what you said. And they said this too, don't help, be in relationship. Be in relationship. Go to the margins, go to the fringes, go to the people that society considers, for some reason or another, not okay, the other, right? And then be in relationship and see how it changes you.
Yes.
And it's so powerful. It's so powerful.
So
and to me,
much.
I don't know where you stand on the whole God and Christian piece, but for me, like the clear message was, let God love you. Accept that God loves you 100% right where you are, no matter what. And then go be in relationship with others, especially those on the margins. And not to fix, not to solve, just to be in relationship with and see what happens.
I love this, because taking this forward further, when I started my roller coaster life out of an entrepreneurial path, my background is marketing, and so basically my superpower is how to increase perceived value of brands, products, and companies, and that leads to more money, more transactions, and more partnerships. So that's why I've done several turnarounds of businesses, always looking at growth stages, how to swing back the hockey stick. Yeah, and I've raised a lot of funds because of that.
Right, the companies needing investment to do what, then they have confidence that you can make the hockey stick, so then they give you the funds, because everybody's looking for a good investment, right?
Correct. And so I did this for healthcare, but then I learned about impact investing, where you use capital as a force for good. Yeah, and there's also an aha moment. But before going into that, so since I've been doing that for a long period of time, people come to me and say, Florian, you do impact. How can I do impact? And I ask them, what is your vocation?
And they don't know.
And there are very few people,
Right.
very few people know this, but then they know how actually what to do with it. Or others they don't even know, like I did. I didn't cater to my inner child. And then I helped them to develop empirically 7 steps for people to make their purpose, which is their vocation, their profession. Yeah, well, and a lot of, let's say, accomplished people at a certain age, kind of midlife crisis, saying time's passing by.
I've done everything I should.
Well, but
I've
what is it?
I've checked the boxes.
Yes, and how can I contribute? Yes, exactly. And of course, younger people and say, can you talk to my son or my daughter because she's there in between, and then you have other people saying, don't go vocational stuff. This is the do good stuff. This is real life. You need to have a job, And so this is one side. And then they asked me to write a book, which is the outcome. Yeah, it's called On Vocation, How to Align Your Purpose with Your Profession. But the point is actually, as we're doing this now, and as AI is kicking in, where AI is beautiful because it has never been as easy, as fast, and as cheap to innovate, to create something. But if we keep on educating ourselves in humanity the same way, we will ask the machine. We will subjugate ourselves to the machine.
Right.
Where should I go? What should I study? What I'm good at? I don't know. And so the machine is telling us what to do, rather than us to go inside, to talk and say, okay, this is what I want to do. And now I will leverage the machine and I will tell the machine, I want to do this, I need that, and then that. So it's the human agency, which is for me, I'm really concerned about in the AI. And if you look at now, the wave coming up is 500 million people will lose their job. It's not me saying, it's the experts saying. Juniors will no longer, like we did, you did a good school and you have an entry-level job, McKinsey or whatever it is. These are all gone. So youth needs to be looking differently. So if we don't go inside, and it's difficult to go inside because it's so noisy, we're all connected, all information, and that goes back, Art, to your previous. So the first step, in order to find your vocation, awareness of your inner child, to understand your inner child, not losing your adult. It's all there. Yeah, but really go in there to think about what to do with this. But that first step, you can only do if you cut out the noise. And cutting out the noise is either you meditate, you do prayers, depending on what you want to do. You can do sports, you can do contemplation, where just go, you can, it's just, or go on a retreat, but you need to cut out the noise.
It's a good way.
Yeah, journaling, big, yes. So those are that, and this is where you suddenly things bubble up. But if you're in the hamster wheel at that speed, you cannot. You will not listen to you. So therefore you are more, it's a riskier one that you over time get sucked up.
And the machine is another way of keeping us on that speed, on the hamster wheel. Like as great as a tool as AI is, every AI, their job is just like Meta and everybody else is to keep our attention, right? That's how they're going to profit. So everything ends with a question. What would you like me to do next? How about we do this? How about we do that? And keeps the attention where we don't become still and get to know ourselves.
Correct. And so that's for my part, which I am talking a lot around, and I'm getting involved in, is actually for people to create the awareness. Yeah. And again, also within the one thing is the individual person. Yeah. So in my book, I talk about my own roller coaster life to set the stage. Then I invented a verb called to vocate. If you dedicate yourself professionally to your vocation, you are vocating. Yeah, and I put a science of vocating, a lot of literature in there, different, really to substantiate, and then the 7 steps. Yeah, and I just finished the second book, which is how to land a purpose with your organization.
So without having to leave your job, you find a way to use your purpose inside the company or organization you're in today.
Correct. Yes, or you might trigger the organization to change. The organization might go away from a shareholder view to a stakeholder view. Yeah, where net promoter score goes through the roof. There are many things. The company is still the same. And the third one is, of course, now once you're successful and you made money, how do you align your purpose with your capital, with your money? Yeah, it can be by charity, it can be by impact investing, it can be by different ways of doing. So those are the things I'm involved in and I'm passionate about, but I'm really, really concerned for people to understand. Be careful, we are in another industrial revolution, the AI revolution, because internet and everything before was
it felt crazy at that point, right? If you go back to whatever you're going to call it, 89, when we started in this internet revolution. Felt crazy. We've never seen anything like that before. But this is up the exponential curve. It's exponential curve. It's not linear, the rate of change. And AI, the change from AI is going to be much faster and much more drastic. Or I shouldn't say will be, is. We are in it right now.
It is, yeah. Yeah, but it's a little bit like, with COVID. Right. Wuhan is far away, there's this wave, poor Chinese, and you do your living, do your normal things, and suddenly, whoa, everything goes. Because I think humanity has never felt so real what exponential actually means. Yeah. One is contagion, then it goes all over the place. Yeah. which is the same
Yes.
here in a different subset with AI. And so for me, the work I try to do on myself is to regularly cut out the noise.
What's your process for that? Like, what's your
Meditate.
daily, weekly, even if you go on a different fractal, say from daily to annual, because there may be different pieces in it, what for you to keep the noise quiet so you can hear your intuition, your inner child, God, whatever you want to call this, coming through to you, so you can hear this wise, quiet voice. What's your rituals for that? What works for you?
Yes, so every day I meditate, every single day. Yeah, then regularly I pray, from a religious side. Yeah, because it's the moment where you go to church, you're in that mood, and it can be a mess without, it really doesn't matter whether it's somebody there or not. It's really the moment and the connection, and to listen to things. I do, so this is just more on a regular basis. Let's say one is daily, one is weekly, in the sense. And then also, an important part is journaling. So you do your lists. Yeah, some people like to write. I do this more typing, but in the same way I do, go through and fine tune and go back, and also to see. And this was also the result of the book, was basically just putting things together. I've written in the past. Just put it the right
and
order.
A lot of that,
what I've read,
and a lot of that writing
stuff,
like from the book, did it come from a lot of just journaling, like where you were just writing for journaling, or did you have a discipline for?
Yes, initially it was, but certainly became a structure, because when you do a lot of personal development methodologies, you retain things which are important for you, and you set it aside, and you write it down. And so I did whatever we did. I studied the Jung colors. I did NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, just from a coaching side. I did MBTI. I did the Enneagram. I did even human design, different shapes. So really, to learn about myself. And this is beautiful, because this information exists. And it's not just invented. It's not just some spooky spiritual stuff. It's really down to substance. And that's what actually my wish would be, that educational systems include a vocational track to cater to the inner child, not to just knock it out and saying, So those are the pieces where, and again, with AI right now, even more, because once you know what you actually up to, and then you use the power of AI, you have so many doors opening, so many ideas, and it goes so fast. But it's you, because it's very different. The same goes, the difference between helping and serving, Also, there's a difference between self-inflicted stress, and outside stress. Outside stress, if you're stuck in a situation, you get a burnout, a depression, or whatever the reaction is, because it's not you, but you're in a situation where it's no longer healthy for you. If it is you defining a path,
that's right.
It's a challenge.
Yeah,
adrenaline goes up, endorphins go up. Yes, it's painful. Yes, you might have sleepless nights. Yes, you have anxiety. But it is
eustress instead of de-stress, which is both an internal or extrinsic versus intrinsic, as well as how much. Even eustress, if it's too much, performance goes down, it becomes de-stress, right? But I love that.
Fully.
My wife and I are starting a business right now. Their kids are grown, parents are healthy, so we moved states, and now she's starting her dream career, which is Coastal Tea Cafe, so a small tea cafe restaurant. And we've had the conversation a lot, like this is going to be really hard. It doesn't mean it's bad. And we're going to have this incredible opportunity to grow, because we're going to challenge each other, being in business together every day, right? Things are going to come up that are difficult, but it's not bad, right? We're choosing it. This is her dream. I'm supporting her in this. And I had that epiphany. When was this? Probably 2012, maybe 13. It was my second Shanghai marathon. I was running my second marathon, and it was brutal cold. It was in November, I think November 17th. It was the first cold day in Shanghai. So two things were happening. It was sleeting and a little bit rain and right at freezing. And because it was the first cold day, the air quality was 500. On a scale of 100 is bad, and it's exponential. So you could almost not see, right? And I was running a marathon wearing a mask. And I wouldn't even go on, except it was like my turn to drive with the guys. Like there's a bunch of us doing the marathon. It was my driver and a bunch of guys going to the marathon. So I showed up because I was the ride. But it was mile, 17, 18, that hitting the wall point of a marathon. I'm trying to do sub 4. And I'm crying, and it's cold, and my mask, I finally can't breathe through the mask, and I get a little claustrophobic, take it off. And think, well, I've got 9 miles in the way I think, so whatever that is, 14 kilometers to finish. And I thought, man, this is really difficult. And then I had this thought, because it was a Saturday morning, and it had been a really hard week at work. I'm running a multi-billion-dollar company, a lot of employees, a lot of issues, a lot of challenges, lots of expectations. And I had the thought, this is really hard, but it's not bad. It's good, even though it's really hard. And then I had the epiphany, wow, just because I have a hard day also at work, doesn't mean it's bad. But I think, I have his friend, Vince Fowler, is a really great coach, and he talks about choose your hard, choose your suffering, right? Because life is not meant to be easy. That's why do you think Tough Mudders and, Iron Man and all this stuff, which I've also done all of these things, right? It's because we like to do hard things, right?
Wow.
But can we bring that into our life and make it our choice? And I love that where me and my wife are right now is that, choosing to do the hard, that's also really good. That's also serving the community, also engaging with people, also building relationships, also meeting a need, but all of those things together. But it was a big epiphany for me because before, if someone asked me how your day was and I was completely drained, coming from a hard day at work, which at that time I was also running too fast and these other things we were talking about, but I would be like, oh, it was awful just because it was hard. And with that epiphany, I was like, yeah, it was a really hard day and we're making good progress. And that became one of our core values in that company, was just very simply like, we do hard things, and when someone would be up against it, oh, we have to get this done on time to keep the production running. Right. Yeah, well, oh, that's right. Yeah, we do hard things. Okay. And it's a very different thing because in that moment, that team member of mine chose the hard instead of being a victim to the hard. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I do hard things. And you can see their posture change. Right. Yes. And so that just when you're talking about that, it's really powerful to realize that life is not supposed to be easy and being hard is not bad. It's actually what we want.
I'm fully with you. When I was 5-6 years old, we moved from the central part of Germany to the Black Forest at the Swiss border. And so people speak a dialect, a very different dialect, just close to a different language. And so it's like difference between English and Dutch. Yeah. All Germanic languages, but yeah. So, and then my father's a doctor, my mother a teacher. So I was more.
Yeah, you're from a proper educated family and on the upper end of society. Yep.
Exactly. And then you had the boys coming from the farms and from the village and stuff. And then I got beaten up. And so my parents put me in judo to toughen up. Yeah, because I was very sensitive little child. And so it was very hard initially for me. And then I did this for 15 years. I went to the Bundesliga, the national team. I was, traveling. I went to a sporting school where judo was, for high-end sports. And then when I finished my high school, I went to military service to the parachutists, and I would have to done 15 months of mandatory military service. And the first 3 are the normal ones, and then they would send me to the sports company to prepare myself for Barcelona 92 for the Olympics. And at that moment, I decided not to continue. 3 things happened. Number 1, the national trainer says, Florian, okay, now now it's serious stuff. I want you to go to the Olympics. So there's a whole list of things you have to comply with to make it there. Okay. Second thing, there was this whole wave initially of anabolica and not yet known, and the whole industry of doping coming up, and so wasn't sure. There was the doctor telling, and something here, and then a little bit of injection there. You weren't really educated in that, but that's kind of weird. I don't want to have that to my body happening. And the third thing was, I didn't see myself in the future. What do? I open a dojo, and I'm a judo teacher. I don't have the vocation. There are people who have that, which are incredible teachers, which the one I had and I grew up with, within our village, one teacher. We were 7 boys, all the top classes, the weight classes, and then basically going there. And this was really, for me, an epiphany, but it was a decision to not go. So this was for me a piece where I had to have a reflection to see myself, because I don't have that vocation. From an income level as a judoka, you don't earn any big, compared, we were in a boarding school, and you had the tennis.
Sure, yeah.
And they made bucks.
Right.
Even cyclists also made, but we, the judo, we were.
Right, you might get an endorsement if you happen to win the gold medal at the Olympics, but that's about it, yeah.
That's it, exactly. And so that was for me one of those pivots. But also, until then, it was me to see how high can I go. Thereafter, it would have been imposed. Right. So it's no longer me. And that was for me the reason to say, okay.
What gave you the fortitude at that point to go against the grain? To go, because this is something that even, as a young guy, you're 18, 19 years old now, right? And even if it's not a clear path to a big career or something, this is, not everybody gets a chance to go to the Olympics. It's very proud, and you have a lot of people, there's a lot of machine around you. We talk about the society effects on us. There's a lot of machine to push you in that direction. How did you decide, how did you have enough self-awareness already at 19 years old, 18 years old to decide not to do that?
One was luck, because moving to the military service, stopping judo and only doing a soldier-based service, for 3 months, I could gain some distance. Right. No longer in the machine with all the other friends do the same and you talk the same and these things. That was one. That was I looking. The second thing is I didn't enjoy to be tough.
Yeah.
It's just to be done, and it works. Yeah. And I did later on in job.
Yeah, I can put this shield on and I can put on this persona, whatever I need to be successful.
Exactly. Correct. On the other side was in the village where I grew up, we have carnival every year, and it's a big thing, and it goes very long. And you bring yourself in by laughing, by entertaining, by having fun. So I started to play music. I put a group together, and we were then growing. We were suddenly in front of a crowd of 5,000 people, big tents, the Oktoberfest style, and people go crazy, and you do some fun. And then also the entertaining side came, where I loved it because, and I do this still today, in my hobby, let's say if I go to some of the social media, YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, I mostly watch stand-up comedians because I can numb out my pain, numb out the ordinary pain, or you forget something like a good movie,
distraction.
And so, and that was for me the past saying, I prefer rather to do that than to continue maybe a medal, if at all, at Olympics, and then what? Opening my dojo or doing something totally different. Studying sports as an alibi. Because it's not the same rigor. So this is where I moved. So I don't think it was a maturity necessarily, but it was just I got the moment to cut out the noise from the sports side, and then compare it. And that's why I said, I want to study dramatic arts and do this. So I stopped judo. I went this path, and then of course I got sidetracked.
But I think it's two of the things that you brought up earlier. First was the stillness, like being in the military actually gave you that stillness, right? Where you just had a very laser focus on just training, and then there's a lot of sleeping and a lot of downtime. Right. So you had the stillness, and then you also had a little bit of self-awareness. You did the future forecast. Like, is this where I want to be in 10 years? Where does this path take me? And is that something I want to do or not?
I love it. You have actually a good point. Yes. As a parachutist, where you lying there, it's freezing out there, and you're supposed to watch, and you're not supposed to sleep. You're just bored to death, but you have to focus on because that's your job. Is actually these exercises where you listen to yourself. You have really
it's a form of meditation, quite frankly.
And just lie there.
It's a focal point. You may not be focusing on your breath, right? You may not be focusing on a body sensation, but you have a focal point, and there's nothing else, and that's it, right? So
I love that. You're absolutely right. But it happened. It happened because I had to do it. My military service. But that was a blessing because I got this reflection saying, okay, not this way, maybe that.
I want to come back on this part of being able to know yourself, the self-awareness that we talked about earlier. But I think for us to bring our vocation into our profession, we have to get to know ourselves well enough to know what we would bring into our profession, right? So, and I know you said the first step is the stillness. So you can hear the intuition, you can hear the inner child, you can hear God. Because I feel like so many folks, myself included, right? Like I think about Joseph Campbell. He talks about that. The big question is whether you're going to be able to say a hearty yes to your adventure, right? But what is your adventure? If somebody is sitting there like you were at 33 or I was at 48, right? Like, okay, I've checked the boxes. I've done what I'm supposed to do. And my life is good. Again, no problems with the company, no problems. Maybe there's a health thing, maybe there's not a health thing, good relationships, good kids. I've checked all these boxes, but I don't feel the way I thought I would feel when I was imagining my life checking the boxes, right? I had this story when I was 25 that when I had 2.3 kids and a 3-bedroom house with a white picket fence and $500,000 a year of income and the right car, that at that point I would feel fulfilled and satisfied and I would have arrived. And yet I don't feel that way.
Yes.
How do you help? Yeah, because it doesn't, it's doing everything I should do. And again, nothing wrong with those things. And I think you have to earn the right to do the deeper work by having life handled, right? But where do you start from there? Like what's the path you would have to help somebody to figure out what is their vocation directly? Maybe this is going straight to your 7 steps, but if you give a tool to somebody that's listening right now, what's the first step you would recommend to them to start to get clarity about what their vocation is, even before they think about how they can integrate it with their organization, or if they do something else, or eventually toward impact investing, the 3 levels that you talked about. But how do they get started, Florian?
Yeah, it's a great question. So some people say, when you're a child, you don't know what you can do in life. Yeah, how would you? You need to have a certain maturity, and you have lived certain things, and maybe a certain age, and then you can decide really what's the vocation, how you contribute. And I say no. So the exercise typically with people I do it threefold. Yeah. And again, I say you choose the way you want to go inside and cater to your inner child.
Yes.
All the different things, meditation, prayer, sports, stillness, contemplation.
Whatever. I want to add one there too that I think is very effective for me is to take your inner child on a date. And what I mean by that is this has been very effective for me. It's like, okay, 5-year-old, all right, I've set aside an afternoon or a whole day, a Saturday for you. What would you like to do? Do you want to color? Do you want to go for a walk in the woods? Do you want to go I have these little spontaneous dates now, and people probably think I'm crazy, but I don't care. I have this one I call brother cousin. He's a cousin who grew up with me. We're very close. He was here at my house last weekend, but he always encourages me when I'm out running to just play a little bit, skip, or you call it. I don't know in German. Skipping? Yeah, like when I don't know what this word is in German, but but I found myself. So I live very close to the beach, so I run on the beach almost every morning, and I do this thing that my son did when he was 5 years old called a beach flyer. So I'm just putting my arms out, and as I'm running, and there's people on the beach, and I'm, woo, and why? Just because it's light and it feels great, and it's a date. It's a little mini date with my 5-year-old. All right. So that's another great way of bringing that 5-year-old into conversation, is to really, okay, what would you like to do for a day? What would you like to do for an hour?
I do the same, even with the arms.
I'm not the only one.
No, and what I love about it is because you're deliberately taking the child to a date. I don't. It just happens, but I like the idea as an exercise. And I also might cite you on that, Art, because with the many people I've worked, this is, the thing is just, so you have the different exercises where you go to cater to your child. So once you're aware of your child and you appreciate your child and you start listening to, so then there go 3 exercises. First exercise is, you go actually in the stillness, in the mindfulness, you go back to when you were 5 and 10 years. And I said, remember, put yourself in situations, things, remember, thoughts, feelings, so that you visualize back when you were between 5 or 10 years, certain moments of great joy, or certain moments of you have seen something which touched you and you actually want to resolve it. So this is the one exercise, so that you understand between the fantasy, but listen to your intuition, listen to what has happened on the emotional side. Second exercise is you go right to the end at your deathbed. Now imagine you're flatlining and you're detaching, walking to the light, end of life. What are the things you believe you should have done to make your life worth living? Because then also you just cut out quickly the money and the fame thing, because it doesn't. Because even if you are so much stuck on that, you want to have your name all over clustered, you want to have the awards and things after, because once you're no longer there, people have to remind you, which is still your ego. It doesn't.
We see that in politics a lot right now.
So,
exactly.
Everywhere, exactly, typically, And so that's the second exercise, and then you go in today, and with the 2 informations, both are visualizations or journaling, really in a way that you to express it, and then you say, okay, what is it today? Something I would like to contribute to the world, not for the sake of me, of course. Also, it has to be joyful, it has to be fun. It's worth for me the effort, but really as a contribution to humanity or to the planet or whatever, society or your community or something.
And I would encourage people on that one.
These things are
easy to get lost if we think about humanity or the planet. It's easy to get lost. What can you do to contribute to your neighbor, to your partner, to your kids, grandkids, whatever? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, that was one of the great lessons from Tom Vaso, this guy running Homeboy Industries. He said, the most important person to serve is the one in front of you right now. And I want to encourage that because we take the Western fame and fortune thing. Oh, I'm going to change the planet. I want to be the next whatever, Jesus, Tony Robbins, Gandhi. Yes, but you know what? You can do the same exact thing, maybe even with more value right now today, helping your neighbor across the street.
Absolutely. And the point is the following. It doesn't matter whether it's a gazillion people or just one person. And it's nothing you have to justify to anyone, because this is what you want to live and experience, how you can express, how can you live your best version of yourself and love the best version of yourself. And so this is the part where, for example, you have people who are choosing jobs because of fame and fortune, and then you're stuck, it's hard, and you're just watching to, when can I retire? I have enough made. I just want this has to end. And then the question is, what now? What next? But you have also jobs which actually are meant to be vocational. But if you don't know it, it's brutal. Now let's see, a chef cook, if you do not have a vocation to cater to people, and you're in your zone, why would you do this? Horrible working hours, everybody's out having fun and you're back in the kitchen. Why would you do this, And and then very late. Always, yeah. Only if you have a vocation, then it's something you really enjoy.
It changes everything.
You enjoy for life. Yeah.
If we are all doing something we don't want to do to make the money, life as a whole, community interaction becomes horrible. So you check in at a hotel, but the clerk doesn't want to be there. They're just there to make the money. It's not a good experience. You have a meal, right? It's cooked by somebody who loves being a chef compared to somebody who's there just for the money. Completely different experience, right? So I think we have,
correct,
in some ways, an obligation to, to culture, to society, not just to ourselves, to do something that we feel really good about, because that's what brings out the next level, the joy. That's how we really serve others. And there's lots of ways to do that. And I love that you start that, like even inside your own job. Like I did burn out eventually from my career, but inside of my job as a leader, I did so much personal development with my team, with my customers, right? I taught about courageous conversations. We read books together. We did hot seat processes in our leadership team that I facilitated, right? So there was a chance to live my vocation in my job, in my profession as well. Unfortunately, I didn't get it balanced quite enough because I was still chasing the fame and fortune, and I needed to go up to the next level, right? So I eventually burned.
And it's difficult. No, but it's difficult to be so honest to you that saying right now I have a great ride. Yeah. But it's actually my ego. When this is over, and that was a question, when this is over, what? Are you falling down a cliff? Or actually,
and you know what my
thought,
really as I was climbing that, my thought was, well, I'm going to be CEO of this big multi-billion-dollar international public company. And then I'm going to be a board member. And the way I take care of my board members now is the way I'll get taken care of then. And I'll jet all over the world in first class with my wife, being, wined and dined and making decisions about business. And that's what I thought. But it wasn't, again, it wasn't a soul searching in that thought. That was just the natural progression of what I saw of people around me until I was at the dinners with the board on a break. Then I started going to all the board meetings, right? And I felt awful at these dinners. And I thought, this is what I'm shooting for. This is my panacea, right? This is my retirement, and enjoying my life is going to be, in these beautiful boardrooms and then these beautiful dinners in whatever fancy hotel around the world. I'm not enjoying it now. Why would I want to suffer more and more and more to get there? And then, I've always done a lot of introspection and searching, but that was a really wake up call. Like, okay, I'm sitting here. I've realized I'm sitting here as a board member in a sense on the executive team with all the board members, having a, big ego contest basically with everybody else there. Whose children are more perfect, or who ran a bigger company, or who ran, and I just thought, this is not where I want to land, even though it's the logical thing and make a lot of money and use all my tools and all this stuff, right? But that was the wake up. It's like sort of that future, like, okay, this is not. And then of course I had a health crisis also to help me along the way, because I was going so fast and optimizing the fame and fortune machine, in a sense. Not like I was famous or very fortunate even with a big fortune, but I was doing meditation and running marathons and yoga and eating healthy and all of this in order to go faster. Not in order to slow down and know myself, right? In order to optimize, okay, jet lag doesn't affect me because I'm healthy and I do this and I do that. And so I can travel literally around the world twice every month and be fine. I mean, that's just asinine after a while, right? Because the body's not meant to do that, and it can't do that. But I ran that tangent as long as you can by using all these other things, to do. But when COVID came, my body stopped. So, we don't have to get on a plane. We're going to shut down for about 12 weeks. And that was a big wake up call.
But then COVID helped you. That's right. Like my military service helped me to actually stop. Yeah. The hamster wheel had to stop. And you said, okay, what is it?
It was brutal. The mental torment when I stopped was like, I've told this story before, but I was lying in bed looking at the TV because I couldn't get out of bed. And then once my body ached too much in bed, I'd walk to the kitchen, but then I'd be out of breath and go back to bed. But I was watching the TV and the news locally where I was in Nashville, Tennessee, right in the heat of COVID. And they said, listen, if you're hungry and you can't go to the grocery store, or if you're afraid to go to the grocery store, if you're immune compromised, come to the football stadium. And there's people in hazmat suits that have put a week's worth of groceries in your vehicle. So you're safe, and you don't have to pay if you've lost your job or whatever. For whatever reason, we just don't want people going hungry. And so here I am, the guy that's, total comp 7 figures at that time, with a 7-figure savings account as well. And I had the thought like, oh man, if my company finds out that I failed by getting sick, and they fire me, I'm not going to starve because I can go get food at the food bank. That's how intense the mental conversation was once I was forced to stop. And it was not a comfortable 12 weeks, I can tell you, but it did change the direction of my life completely. Right.
Thank you for sharing this. This is amazing, because this is the piece where if it is health or COVID or something imposed by military service, the only way that we can cut out the noise and actually reflect, saying what I'm doing, is it me? Yeah, what is it for me? And this is where I invite people to do this on a regular basis, like you do and I do. Yeah, because it's not just for health reasons, just because I enjoy it. So one of the exercises I actually do in the morning when I shower, I ask myself 3 things I'm grateful for today, and I don't allow myself to do say the same thing.
So it can't be rote
from the last day.
You have to actually think about it.
I have to think about it. You have to, and then sometimes some crazy things, but again, it tunes me for the day, even if things are tough. Yeah, and I do, and in my book, I tell a little bit my story, my roller coaster life, because I had to overcome some very difficult phases. Yeah, but that is the part where I could just keep going, not falling off the cliff, not burning out, in the same sense, because again, this was in my roller coaster life. Would not have happened before. Before I would have maybe bulldozed through, but then of course I would have paid the bill on the
body keeps the score
at some point, on the machine.
Van der Kolk's book, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So those are the things. Now, one thing, Art, I want to do also just tell about. So when I was in Mexico running the company, a subsidiary of the conglomerate, and it was VP Latin America, and I just had in the corporate before we relocated to Mexico, done the coaching, and things were starting to move. I created a non-for-profit, saying I want to do something, I want to help, cater to my child. So we created a continuous medical education foundation in Mexico to basically serve, let's say the patient associations or some things around vulnerable people. And one program was a extramural surgery program. So you have an OR on a truck going into the jungle, basically, in Mexico. Sierra La Candona. And my wife is, by the way, Mexican. All my kids, my 5 kids have, kids are all half Mexicans. We speak Spanish at home here in Geneva.
They have 3 languages at least to start with, which is a great 4. Okay.
4, that's
awesome.
Is the base.
I have like 1.8, out of 4 languages, I total 1.8,
But the point was, so I did this because believing this is something to give back. CSR things, And so at that time also, once the doctor says, Florian, why did you join me? Because I grew up in the healthcare company, actually in the OR, instrumenting hips and knees and spines and medical equipment.
In so that I knew space, how to move you could be a good helper in that space. But he wanted me just to experience and see what's going on frontline. So so I went there. We slept in a tent. We did the surgery program stuff, and then also remember there was a little child with a cleft lip being operated on. Drapes, mouth, and I took a picture and I put it on the newsletter of the foundation, and I felt so great. And then 6 months later, the truck was in again. I said, "Can you please take a picture?" I didn't go then of that child, and I learned the child had died from Dr. Kemmerich. And I asked myself, how can I be so selfish, going there because I'm helping, if actually I'm not helping? Because nobody wants to be helped. Nobody wants to be pitied. Yes.
From a dignity point of view, it's unfair. I'm privileged, and I tell you poor, and if I'm not putting myself at a serving level, rather helping. And so that was for me a hard lesson. I felt really bad. I felt guilty. And that later on, when I learned about impact investing, doing, capital as a force for good, still with financial returns, I said, this is it. Because if we would have invested in healthcare access in that geography, that would not have happened. Because
you would have had follow-up.
There's no pharmacy, there's no doctor. Exactly. And so for me, that's the part where I thought also now in the global space and sphere where we've been operating, and we've invested in over 100 countries and over 100 companies in 30 countries, Africa, Asia, Latin America, rural areas, basic services, equity and debt. And that's when I also pivoted from people. There are a lot of organizations wanting to do poverty uplift with an NGO. But nobody wants to be uplifted. Economic empowerment is very different. If you help
somebody that's already doing a micro business and create some capital for them to go from 1 basket to 40 baskets, and now that they can feed their family off of that.
And that's basically when I say this. And the sentence I use is, sometimes you have to give a person a fish. Sometimes then you need to train how to fish, but eventually you need to invest in the fishing business. This is when you have a sustained economic empowerment. So it's really that equation in a continuum of care, but where you actually risk something yourself. You get yourself involved rather than just from a privileged point of view,
I want to add something on this because I think it's a really important conversation. This thing about helping, there are times when people need help. But the thing is, privileged people also need help. And we're incredibly arrogant to think that the shoe doesn't go the other way or the circle doesn't go the other way. It goes both directions. And if we're really working well, we recognize that there are times for me to lift and there are times for me to be lifted. And of course, it starts with human dignity and being in relationship, not being superior or inferior. Either one, right? Being in relationship.
Yes.
But there are always times when I need a fish. I need someone to give me a fish. It may not be in the form of actual fish in my situation, but to think to, we all need to serve. We all need to help. We all need to be helped, but not from a standpoint of, or maybe to use your words, we say that we all need to serve and be served. It's both directions, right?
Yes.
And it's really, exactly.
And it's on the same level.
We say in German, right? Vier Augen, right? The 4 eyes, right? Their eye
yes,
level.
Exactly.
The same,
exactly.
The same
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Yes.
That's that basic. The first chapter in my book is called "You Are Worthy," and it talks about that because it was written to my kids at the time. That, well, that's still my kids, but they're grown now. Talking about that, there's just this basic human dignity that everybody has. That everything has to start there. Yes. Right. And but from that standpoint, it's also okay for me to acknowledge, even with whatever situation I'm in, there's areas I need to be served. I need to call my friends and say, this day is so rough. How can I get through it? And to be okay, to be given a fish at that point. And
I'm fully with you. And it's essentially also, especially with children, but then also the teaching how to fish is important, education is important. But it's very different if I'm here to serve you.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm here for you.
Yeah.
I invest myself. I bring myself in. Yeah, which is different saying,
or even,
let me know if
I know how to help you and this is what you need and I'm going to do it for you. Right?
Yes.
I think one of the things that came to me in one of my quiet times of reflection was that my job is to hold space and bear witness.
This is very, just digesting what you say.
Because, hold space.
Hold space.
Right now. Yes. And bear witness to you.
And bear witness.
To see you, not watch you.
This is, This is so beautiful. You just described a beautiful vocation because this is a service attitude. Yeah. Nothing else.
So I just need to figure out how to bring that into my profession now. But it is really something. I mean, to be with people, to see people instead of to watch or instead of, and then the machine's not running and it's beautiful. The intermingling of our souls happens at that point, right? Where we get to feel the oneness, the substrate of what it means to be not a human being, but to be part of the human experience.
Which I again, another phrase, absolutely. Absolutely. My soul is using my actual current vehicle, which is my body.
But if we can connect on a soul level, and then there gets to be a intermingling of that in a way that's really special if you hold space and bear witness to others, right? If you see people. Maybe we end it there, but I have one other question for you, Florian. Just what's the best way for people to connect you? This has been a wonderful conversation, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to want to reach out to you and connect with you. What's the best way for them to do that?
Thank you for asking. Yes, my site, I have a website called on-vocation.com.
Great.
Yeah, and there you find my article, you find some books. You can reach out to me. You can connect with me. And then also for those being intrigued, we are right now trying to gamify the 7 steps, which I learned from my children, from my youngsters, from my Gen Zers, that old-fashioned books, okay.
Yeah, but
having
app
a
is
coach,
better.
Okay, but actually exactly. So we're trying to gamify the 7. So also if you go in there, you can register if you want to test the MVP.
Minimal viable product.
For us to get feedback. Yes, because the point art is actually the signal. Are we able to trigger for people the awareness about the inner child? And then step by step, what to do with this. Yeah, that's the part. And that's where I hope, my hope is to trigger or to instill in as many people as possible for them to vocate.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that's your vocation, to get as many people as possible to vocate. And that's a beautiful thing, Florian. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Life in Transition podcast.
Thank you for having me, Art. This was a beautiful conversation, and you contributed also a lot of new things I learned with you today.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode. And I want to invite you, if you have been listening to this podcast for a while, you've gotten through at least a handful of these, and you're ready to be challenged, you're ready to step up, you're ready to live a life full of adventure and meaning for you, then book a call with me. The link's right below. Do not do this if you still want to be in your comfort zone. That's not what this is about. Growth happens, especially for men at midlife when we've made a little money, we're starting to get comfortable and softer on the middle. Growth happens outside our comfort zone. So if you're ready to step outside your comfort zone and start really living again, then book a call with me below. You know what makes this podcast possible? Our incredible sponsor, Verity Wealth Partners, a Northwestern Mutual private client group. At Verity Wealth Partners, your life plan is the cornerstone of your financial strategy. With many years of combined experience, Verity empowers purpose-driven business owners and leaders to envision their best life, providing clarity and perspective to unlock what is possible. Verity's comprehensive integrated advice helps their clients transform success into significance, creating a lasting impact. Discover how Verity's comprehensive financial services, including proactive rebalancing, tax-efficient strategies, and strategic distribution, can help you get the most life out of your wealth and not the other way around. So if you're ready to transition with purpose and turn your success into a legacy that makes a difference, visit veritywealthpartners.com/life-in-transition to take the first step in finding out more. Look for the link in the show notes. Experience a future where your vision shapes your wealth strategy. Live your Verity.